This magic square is a real mind bender. I ended up, I couldn't quite fathom what was going on here. So I ended up Googling and I found this pretty good website that explains it pretty good. You can see it right up here, okay, if you want to go to it. Um, it actually shows you one and then it actually explains the Siamese method of creating it. Now we're going to go back to here again. I'm going to look at the examples down here, okay? We're going to be making variable sizes of magic squares. And one rule, first rule, well, a rule is that they can only be odd numbers, okay? You can't have one that's 2 by 2. You have to have either 1, 3, 5, whatever, okay? The cool thing about these magic squares is that if you add them up across here, 8 and 1 is 6 is 15, and 8 and 3 and 4 is 15, and every which way you go in here, you always end up with 15, okay? And that's what we want them to be. Let's see. Once again, this magic square. Well, here, let's go over some of these rules. These are a little bit hard to understand, but I'll tell you what, just keep on moving. I created this little program, okay? I'm going to run that, and I call this my Magic Square Plus because it actually steps one number at a time. We start out with an array, or excuse me, a double vector that looks like this, two-dimensional vector that looks like this. And we always put the 1 in the top row here. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop 1 through 9 in this case, okay? And but anyway, the first one goes in here, and when I hit another line, okay, now what you do is after you get the first one, here we're row 0 in column 1, okay? Then what you do is you take and you minus 1 from your row and plus 1 to the column. That's the logic they came up with to develop this, okay? And so therefore you'd end up with something like row minus 1 and column 2. Now we have a couple different rules. Rule number 3 says that if the row is less than 0, okay, then move to the bottom row, okay? And so that's what we do, and we change that now to a row 2, column 2, which we can do. So put your 2 right there. Hit enter again. Okay, where does 3 go? Okay, you would do your normal move, okay, where you take your row minus 1, your column plus 2. That gives us here, okay? And the only problem here is that 3 for our column, of course, is out because we only have 0, 1, 2. So therefore, we break that rule number 2, and we have to say, well, okay, move the column now back to this 0 column again. And so we have row 1 and column 0, and that's where it puts it, okay? Row 0, row 1, and column, okay? We hit enter again, and we get another normal move here, which we do every time. Changes it to row 0 and column 1, okay? Now we break a different type of a rule, okay? And it says that if we take num and do the modulus of size, okay? So what's going to happen is our size is 3, so if we take our num divided by 3, our num is going to be 3, and yes, that is equal to 0. So now we have to do a different thing. We have to move down 2 rows and left 1 column, okay, which will give us this right here. Say I went down 2 rows and left 1 column, okay, and then it pops that one in there. Hit enter again. This time we do a normal move. We break no rules, okay, and so therefore we put what do we got here? Row column. That's right in the middle, isn't it? 5 right there. We added 5. Notice how we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hit enter again, and so on and so on and so on. And hopefully that helps you to understand a little bit what we got going on. Okay, so let's go to our, make sure that you download all of these, put them all in your working folder, and take and load, let's see, into our source files here. We're going to take, and I'm going to get this Magic Square Plus. That's my fancy one. That, and we're going to take and we're going to add all of these in their existing file. Come on, there we go. And so we're going to go for Magic Square. Right there, just my Magic Square CPP like that. Right there, so I've got these two open right here. Make sure that that H file is also in your folder where it belongs, okay? Let me turn these back on again. What we're going to do in your main, okay, is we're going to create an instance of Magic Square that's size 1, okay? And we're going to do again size 3 and size 5. The constructor here is going to create the magic square for us, and then that class has got one method in it called display that we have to work on, okay? And let's see, we're going to go to our magic. Notice here I got a whole bunch of comments in mine. You don't have all these comments, but I put them in so I wouldn't get lost, okay? Anyway, we're going to start out by we receive int num here, okay? Size is actually a class variable that you'll find in magicsquare.h. And so we're going to say that our size is equal to int, an int one, I-N-I-T num right there, semicolon like that. Okay, and now we have to resize our two-dimensional class. That's a weird piece of code, so I gave myself it right there, okay? That's how you resize that, because you actually have to resize the outside one, and you have to resize them on the inside too. Now, we're going to start out, we want to put that 1 in the top row, okay? And then we want to put our, use the center column, okay? And so we're going to create some int column, a row, is equal to, and that's going to be the top row, so that's going to start out at 0, semicolon. And an int column is equal to, there we got to go to the center one. And to get that, we're going to do our size divided by 2, okay? And that will give us our center column. Notice, of course, we're working with integers, so there it blows away this, we should have 3 divided by 2 is, yeah. But anyway, works out really good for this program. Now we're going to create a loop that we're going to go through there. It's going to go through all the numbers. For example, if we're doing a 3 by 3, it's going to go 0 through 9, okay? To do that, we're going to create a little loop here. We're going to say for int x is equal to 0, semicolon, x is less than. 9 is actually what? That's our size times size, isn't it? Okay. Size times size. And then increment by 1. X plus plus. Like that. Okay. Beautiful. I got some issues going in here. That'll all clean up in just a minute. Make sure I got that right. Yes, I do. Okay. Now we're going to assign a value to the current magic. Okay. And so we're going to say magic. It's called magic. Right there it is. Okay. And we're going to say our row, because it's a variable right here. Okay. Our row. And then our column. Okay. And that makes that first one. Okay. The first one is 0. Put a 1 in there, okay? This is setting at 1. Oh, that's a mistake there, isn't it? Okay. I'm glad I saw that, okay? We're going to go start out at 1. There we go, like that. Beautiful. And one more thing while we're doing this, okay, we want to make that actually less than or equal to, so we can't approach that size. Whoops. We approach size, okay, so we can get all the way up to size times size. Okay, now we're going to take and once again we assign this, okay, and now that first normal move that we make, okay, we have to reduce our row by 1 and increase our column by 1. So we're going to say row plus or minus, that'll do. Yep, minus, like that, semicolon, and our column plus, semicolon, like that. Our rule number 1, if our num, okay, our x, let's change that to num. I don't want to change this. Sorry about that. We're going to change that to num. It helps me remember that that is our num, okay? That's our number that's slowly incrementing. Okay, we're going to say if num mod our size equals 0, then, okay, and this is a rule, and I don't know how they came up with these rules, but that's not important, but it's the rule that makes it work, okay? Then our row plus equals 2, semicolon, and our column minus equals 1, semicolon, like that. And then else, okay, this is our second rule. If the column is equal to size, if COL equals size, okay, in other words, it's out of range, okay, then we're going to make that column COL is equal to 0, semicolon, like that. And our rule number 3, okay, if our row is less than 0, okay, in other words, that's out of range, then our row is equal to our size minus 1. Put that back in range again within our box, okay? You may have caught it, but I made an error here. Okay, I should put a semicolon right there. And okay, good, that should work. Now we have to write a little code here to display, okay? We're going to create a double loop here. Int x is equal to 0, semicolon, x is less than size, semicolon, because that's a global variable for our class, and an x plus plus. And then we have to make another loop within this because we have to print this square of numbers. Okay, we get columns and rows. Let's make this one int y is equal to 0, semicolon, y is less than size, semicolon, y plus plus, like that. And now we're going to use our cout here to create a column so they get nice and pretty. They line up nice when we do this. Otherwise, they won't line up very well. Dot width. There. Widen. 4. Like that. Okay, and now we can print out our magic box here. Okay, our magic number. Magic. And then we're going to say, whoop, wrong. And we're going to see our x and our y like that, semicolon. And then we got to put a print line here. Ooh, we got to see out that, don't we? Like that, and then we're going to see out in line here. Whoop. Semicolon. And then just to make it all look pretty, we got to put one more see out, another DL semicolon like that. Got one more little error in here. I never assigned my value here. That's equal to num, like that. Now when you go ahead and run it, you should end up with something like this. Lovely. Compare it to our sample down here. Before you submit it, sure enough, look at that. Hope you learned something from that.